Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of Arrow. And this show is just too good. I mean, the fight scenes, what? They were crazy. First of all, I want to give a shout out to all of my people who keep coming over from Spartacus. That is right. Spartacus has brought over like four people already, and it's like insane how good what fighters they are. And oh, I'm just loving every second of it. So today we were introduced to Nisa, and she is the daughter of Raza Ghul. I'm scared for all of us when that day comes and we meet who he is when his daughter is so badass. But she was once on Spartacus. Obviously, Slade was once on Spartacus. Amanda Waller, who is the head of this Argus organization, was on Spartacus. I just can't wait to see until I see her bust out some fight moves because they're going to be insane. All the fight scenes in this episode were amazing. Sarah, hello, using the salmon ladder, awesome. And it's like anything yo boys can do, we girls can do too. And it was amazing. These choreographed fight scenes have just been so great to watch, and I'm loving every second of it. On top of that, there was still an amazing show that we were watching, okay, guys? Like, what is happening with this second season of Arrow? It is on fire. Okay, so we basically catch up from where we were last episode with the mayoral Moira announcing that she's going to be running for mayor. And then we also have Laurel in the hospital recovering from what it appears to be a poisoning. And obviously, Nisa is the one who did this because she's trying to get Sarah back, because apparently those two were hot and heavy on this island while she was in this League of Assassins. I mean, seriously, and she has chemistry with Oliver. I mean, I have been very vocal about who I think Oliver should be with. My first choice is Shadow, but unfortunately, she is no longer with us because she died on the island. I'm still crossing my fingers that somehow she took a serum and she is not dead. But she is for now. So she was my first choice. And if I had to go for choice number two, it would be Sarah. Because that last scene, hello, so good. But let me get back to that. I'll get to that later. This episode was just piling on top of piling on top of piling on. So in the last week's episode, we thought that Sarah went to Laurel to reveal who she was, but really she wasn't. She was just there to save her sister. Okay. So in this episode, she says to her dad, Laurel says to her dad, "Oh, I saw Sarah," and he's all like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And so then, of course, Quentin goes to meet up with Sarah, and she's like, "Listen, I have to go because these League of Assassins are not going to let me stay here. They're going to keep hunting me. I made an oath to them, and they want me back." And so, of course, Nisa is there to bring her back. And when she first reveals herself to Sarah, Sarah's standing there in the middle of the road, and she's like scared, like she's going to take out the knife and stab her, but she puts this passionate kiss on her. So clearly, these two were very romantically involved. And Sarah even says, "I wasn't with you because you saved me. I was with you because I loved you." So I was not expecting that. So that was a very crazy reveal. Oliver saw them kissing and she was like, "I need to explain." He's like, "You don't need to explain anything." It was just like, what is going on? And I loved it. Then we had Felicity confront Moira. So Felicity found out that Thea is actually Malcolm Merlin's daughter. And she basically said to Moira, like, "You need to be the one to tell Oliver because he can't find out any other way. If he does, it's going to devastate him." And Moira's looking at her like, "Oliver is not going to find this out, and I'm not going to tell him, and you sure as are not going to tell him." She's like, "Because I see the way you look at him, and if you tell him this will destroy him, and he will certainly not forgive me, but he will also not forgive you. He will always remember that you were the one who told him this." And so there's this threat over Felicity, like, what is she going to do? Is she going to lie to her best friend? Is she going to hold this secret that Thea is actually the daughter of Malcolm Merlin because of this affair that they had? And what I loved was that she told him. She actually told Oliver the truth. We didn't actually see the words come out of her mouth, but we saw the aftermath of it and him standing in front of Felicity and her having this look of like I'm glad I told you, but oh my God, what are you gonna do? And then, Oliver has to announce, like, make a speech for his mom, and he's got this look of like, I can't believe I now have to go up and say some words about my mom. And as he gets up on the podium, he starts talking, and even the mother knows that he knows. Like, oh, such a good scene. It was just awesome. Sebastian Blood even made an appearance in this episode, and he tried to threaten Moira by saying, "You need to back down because I don't want to have to destroy my friend's mom." And Moira's like, "Bring it. I can handle myself." He's like, "Well, who are you? Are you the woman who was held under the thumb of Malcolm Merlin, or are you the woman who is too weak to fight?" And so she's like, "I am a woman that you shouldn't take for granted and you shouldn't underestimate." And it was just kind of like, that's right. I'm telling you, the women on this show are badass, and they are killing it between the fight scenes and them standing up for themselves. Them like just taking control is just great to see. The writers are definitely fleshing out all these female characters, and I'm loving it. So of course, we also had Laurel's mom come back in this episode because obviously Laurel was in the hospital at the beginning of the episode, and so she came back because she wanted to check in on her daughter. And halfway through this episode, Nisa kidnaps Laurel's mom so that way she will basically be able to trade Sarah for her mom. And this whole reveal it happens, and now Sarah's mom knows that Sarah's alive. I mean, it's just basically the jig is up. Everybody knows everything. Laurel has now seen that her sister is alive, and this reunion did not go down, I think, as Sarah was hoping it would, because Laura was like, "You need to kick rocks. Every single thing that has gone wrong in my life is because of you. You basically steamrolled over my life, and now we're all dealing with the aftermath," because she blames her for their parents splitting up. Obviously, she's the one who destroyed her relationship with Oliver all those years ago, and she's been missing for 6 years. Obviously, Laurel doesn't know all the drama that she's been through, but all she knows is her sister's back, and she's been alive this whole time, and she's not contacted them. So Laurel is PO'd, okay? And drinking quite heavily, I must say. So that brings us to the almost last scene where Slade makes an appearance in this episode. It's just a really brief appearance at the end, and he's talking to Sebastian, and he says, "Listen, I told you not to underestimate Moira Queen because she's clearly a woman who has power in the city, and, people will take her seriously when she runs for mayor." And then Sebastian's like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And then Mr. Slade puts on his jacket and looks all debonair, and he just says, "I'll handle it." And he walks out. I'm just like, oh God, what does that mean? Uh-oh. I can't wait. So, I mean, this was another big episode. I mean, so many reveals. We got this Nisa. We've obviously gotten wind of who this, I can't say his name, probably just have to look, Raza Ghul is. And he is obviously the big head honcho of this League of Assassins. And like the daughter said, nobody has ever been let out. And at the end, Sarah even is willing to take the poison to end it all because she doesn't want to go back to killing. She's just like, "I'm over it. Like, I can't do it anymore." So she's like, "You either need to kill me or I'm just going to kill myself." And she takes the poison, and Oliver comes in and saves her. And Nisa says something in some crazy language, and the look on Sarah's face explains it all. It just looks like it's nothing but bad news that's about to come their way. So very exciting to see what's going to happen there. And then, of course, at the end, we've had, Oliver's been taking out a lot of his aggression. And so right now he's really upset with his mom. So he confronted his mom, and he basically told her, "You're dead to me." He's like, you can run for mayor, and I will stand by your side, and I will act like I'm supporting you in front of the cameras, and I will act like I'm your son in front of Thea. But behind closed doors, you're dead to me. Like, I want nothing to do with you because clearly what you've now held from all of us is too devastating. And he's like, "I want nothing to do with you." So at the end, he's taking out all of his aggression. He's like fighting against this like block, and he's like doing all of his like, he was shirtless quite a few times in this episode, and I wasn't complaining. So he was doing his like little training, whatever. And Sarah comes in, and she's all like sad. He's like, "You've been crying." She's like, "Yeah, the reunion didn't really go the way that any of us really expected it was going to go." And she's like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "Well, my mom's not who I thought she was." And the two of them are slowly walking towards one another. And it's just this moment where you're like, oh yeah, you both need to just jump each other's bones right now because you need to get all of your aggression and just let it out. And That's exactly what happens. And the last line, I love it. She says, well, there's one thing for sure. She's like, I'm home. And so, boom, they just start kissing. And I'm like, wicked. So, I'm hoping this means that Black Canary is not going anywhere, that they're not going to kill her off and then make Laurel Black Canary. Because I know that everyone, I don't know the comic books that well, so which is why I'm still sometimes rough with the names. But somebody was telling me that originally in the comics that Laurel is was supposed to be Black Canary and she was supposed to end up with Oliver, but they have really no chemistry. And so I'm glad that they've written her away from Oliver this season. That makes me very happy. And then somebody was saying like maybe they're gonna kill Sarah and then Laura will turn into Black Canary. And I still hope that that doesn't happen because Sarah is bad at those fight scenes. That salmon ladder, hello. I mean, come on, it was sick. And one thing I will say about Felicity was that she definitely stood up for herself in this episode, which I liked. And we didn't really get to see the fallout about how Oliver will treat Felicity after the reveal that she told him about the sister. So I guess next week episode we'll find out really how he's going to treat Felicity. I mean, I know that there's so many fans out there that ship the two of them, but I still really see them as like big brother, little sister. I care about you deeply. I just don't really see that romantic link between the two of them. But I mean, maybe over time it'll grow on me and that will change. But for right now, I actually just like that he's not with anybody. And I mean, the hookup with Sarah, hey, I'm not complaining about that because it was hot. Let me know what you guys thought. Again, Diggle still taking a bit of a backseat in this episode. I'm not liking that because I think Diggle is awesome and him and his relationship with Oliver is always great to watch. But, you know, he took a little bit of a backseat because there was so much going on with Laurel and and that family and the big reveals all over the place within that family this episode. So that's okay. I'm willing to allow it to be that way. And even the flashbacks, you know, that they had showing the Laurel's family were good to see. You just get a little bit of insight the way their family was, and pretty much how you know, Sarah was always so giddy about texting Oliver and da 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 and wanting to see him and all that kind of stuff. We got a little bit of a glimpse back into that, but so excited to see what's going to happen next week. I'm not sure if it's back next week or if it's off. I feel like most shows are going to stop after this week and come back after the Olympics because they don't want to compete against the ratings and stuff like that, and I don't blame them. But wow. Wow, guys. Let me know what you thought of this episode. I mean, this was another. The CW is killing it right now between this and the originals and even Rain. And I mean, I'm you know, liking the Tomorrow People. Like they're just really doing a good job right now. And kudos to that network because they're bringing out some stellar shows. So let me know what you guys thought. Leave a comment, subscribe, like, and I will see you when the show comes back. Bye, guys.